Okay, good morning and welcome to Yeshiva YouTube Just Daf It. Today we're starting a new parak, the ninth parak on the Nedarim, Daf Samach Dalid, number 64. We have a great share for you today. Started talking about Nolad, Poskim and Nolad. Could you matter another with knowledge that is new? You didn't know something at the time of your nether, and then you found out about it afterwards. Obviously, that's usually a Pesach. But what if the circumstances that you're using as the grounds for breaking your nether or annulling your nether were not present in the world at that time? We'll talk about that today. Let's start. Before we talk about no, let's talk about something else. Can you matter a nether by saying, my father and my mother, they're honorable people in the community, and I'm taking a nether. I'm getting in fights with people, answering people from a nakasim. If I would have known or been careful about the honor of my parents, right, and ruined my reputation and sullied my parents' reputation, I never would have taken this nether. But it says you can do that. Chum say you can't do that. We'll find out why in the Gemara. I'm a Rabbi Zadok. Rabbi Zadok says I should post you have to call it Makom. Imkain in the Darim. I believe the correct explanation over here is Rabbi Zadok is explaining the sheet of the Chum, not that he's offering a new possibility. He says, instead of, there's a better way to be matter and nether. Say, if I knew I was causing shame to HaKadosh Baruch Hu by taking a nether, I'm one of Klal Yisrael, right? So, obviously that doesn't work. Why? Imkain in the Darim, because otherwise, they'll never have a nether. You'll always say, if I would have known that I was, doing something not nice, getting in a fight with somebody, answering someone in a chasim, I never would have caused a schil Hashem, right? There'd be no such thing as Nadarim. You can matter every nether. Modem cham l'relezer, cham are moded l'relezer, and one thing, ben aviv v'imo, shmos chlam b'chvarav v'imo, if he takes a nether against his father or mother, that his father and mother can't benefit from him, then you could say, if I would have been cognizant of the proper respect I should have had for my father and mother, I would not have taken a nether. V'od, Amar Reb Lezer, poskim enolad, another machlokas between Reb Lezer and Chamim. Reb Lezer allows you to use a pesach of nolad. Chum osrim. Chum say you can't. Ketza, what's an example? I'm not going to benefit from a certain man. Menasa sofer. He becomes a sofer. Literally, he's writing Sefer Torah or mezuzos or tefillin. Or I think Arsh will translate this. Talmud Chacham. Oshay Hamasias Beno. The guy has a son in Shidduchim. If I would have known the father, right? If I'm going to marry my daughter off to someone's son, he's got to be a Chosh of Talmud Chacham, a Rosh Yeshiva. I didn't know his father, right? At the time of the Neder, his father wasn't a Rosh Yeshiva. Then he got the job as Rosh Yeshiva. He built his own yeshiva, became a Rosh Yeshiva. Or, I didn't know he was marrying off his son. At least you know there. And then, right at the time of the Neder, his son wasn't a Shidduchim. And then the father, he became Rosh Yeshiva. And all of a sudden his son was in Shidduchim. Now his son can get a dira, get an apartment. So he says, that was his Pesach. If I knew new circumstances would arise, I would not have taken the nether. The second example takes a nether. I'm not going to go into a certain house. It becomes a shul. Or as I've explained in my shiurim on Shulchan Aruch, Beis HaKnesses really means a place for the Knesses here in Israel, right? A congress, a building where a city, the city council, a municipality, they meet for convening to make laws. I know that would have become a hall for convening and for making laws. I would not have taken a nether. Lezer allows you to use this as a pesach. Come say you can't. So the Gemara says, "My Nedarim," right? Reb Tzadok explained the Chamim, right? If you're going to use pesach for a kvod aviv v'chimo, you're going to use a pesach for a kvod hamakom, right? Imkain, there'll be no Nedarim. What does that mean? Literally no Nedarim. Abaye, Imkain and Nedarim Taran Yafe, right? Right? If we're going to use the fact that you cause a chil Hashem, you cause disturbance to Hashem's kavod by making a neder, right? People are going to lie. They're going to say it's an easy, it's a one way to always get out of it. Yeah, I care now about Hashem's kavod. Before I didn't care, but now I realize that I cared about it. Rava Amaro argues top of Salch Dalam and Beis Im Kain Nedarim Mishal L'Chacham. If it's such an easy and uh, ubiquitous type of heter that you could always use, people won't even go to a Chacham to Matan Neder. Technically, really, when you're doing Matan Nedarim, the Chacham's job is not, you're not using the Chacham to Matan Neder. He's showing you the Pesach. Now, I think when it comes to Charata, we'll talk more about this. That is the Chacham who's annulling your Neder for you. When it comes to Pesach, though, he's just showing you under certain circumstances. He asks you, under certain circumstances, would you have taken the Neder? If you have known, you're right, you're missing knowledge at the time of your Neder. It's like a Mekach toast. It's like a Kedusha toast. You purchase something and you lack some knowledge, so the sale is null and void. Rava says that in Kain Nedarim Mishal L'Chacham, no one's going to go to Chacham. They're going to match it in Nedarim themselves. Now, what's the problem? Right, the problem is that for other Nedarim, where it's not so clear the Pesach, right, people are not going to go to Chacham, and they're going to come to use Pesachim that are not valid. Now, in Modim Chachamim l'Relezer b'davar shebein avi v'imo sheposkel b'chor avi v'imo. The Mishnah continued and said that the Chachamim admit agreed to Rabbi Eliezer, right? If he answers his father and mother in Hana, here he could use Kod Avi V'Imo as a Pesach. Bishlam ala ba'yed amar imkein ein nedarim mitar yafeh hacha kema de ichsefle ha ichsefle. Right? He says normally you can't use Kod HaMakom or Kod Avi V'Imo because it's right. He'll lie about it. He's gonna lie. Here, since he's a pretty chutzpah kid. He's a pretty brazen child to ask for his parents in Hana, right? That's like the opposite of Kibbut Av Aim. If you want to really, violate one of the Aseres HaDibros, a good way to do that is to ask for your parents in Hana from you. So he did something pretty bad. He violated Aseres HaDibros. So he's someone who will do no matter. The one good thing about someone who will ask for his parents is that he carries through on what he believes. He really hates his parents, so he does that. So if he's brazen enough to do that, he's also brazen enough to admit, right, that he really now regrets, or if he would have known the proper value that the Torah gives to the parents, to your parents, he never would have taken the Neder. So it's a good probability he's not going to lie. Right? If you allow someone to use the Pesach of disgracing Hashem, or disgracing your parents, my poskin. Why are you allowed? What's the difference, right? Whether you answered your parents in Hana or you answered, Shimon in Hana, and it's disgraceful to your parents in the community because Shimon is the biggest tzaddik, he's the biggest Talmid Chacham, he's the biggest rabbi, he's the biggest, Gaon. So it's disgraceful to your parents, right? How can my poskin, right? If we're worried that it'll lead to other times you're not going to go to a Chacham and you're not going to matter in the Nedarim properly, why should we differentiate over here? Amri came in the Chalnadri lo sagya lahon de lav Chacham. How can I be poskin? It says it was all Nedarim, right? Most Nedarim, most of the time you go to a Chacham, right? Most of the time you go to a Chacham. So therefore, yes, in terms of using a Pesach of Kvod Avi V'Imo, so if you're able to use or Kvod HaMakom, right, that's disgraceful to my parents, disgraceful to Hashem, you're going to stop going to a Chacham. But if it's a specific type of Neder, where it only happens rarely, where you ask your parents, it's not including all Nedarim, where you can use a Pesach that is disgraceful to Hashem, my parents. It's only a specific type of Neder, so therefore you go after the rove. Most of the times he goes to a Chacham. So just because we allow him to matir Kvod Avi V'Imo when he asks his parents, that won't lead him to not use a Chacham in a different place. My time with the Rebbe Lezer, why should Rebbe Lezer allow you to know it? Amar Rav Chisda, Amakra, we have a proof from the Pasuk, he may so call Anashim. This is a Pasuk by Moshe Rabbeinu. Hashem says to Moshe Rabbeinu, go back to Mitzrayim, right? When Moshe Rabbeinu agreed to stay by Yisro in Midian and marry Zipporah, he made an oath, he made a shvuah to his father-in-law. He's not going back to Mitzrayim. He's going to stay with him in Midian. So the Torah says that the reason Moshe Rabbeinu took that net there is because he was afraid of Dasan and Aviram, who saw him hitting the Mitzri. They're going to, killing the Mitzri, that they're going to tattletale on him. That's why he's not going back to Mitzrayim. That was the understanding he had, right? So the Torah says, Hashem says to him, no, your neder is null and void. Because your shvu is null and void. Kimeitzu and Hashem, Dasan and Aviram died. So there's no reason not to go back to Mitzrayim anymore. But that's a new development, right? At the time of his neder, he thought they were alive. They died after. That's no lot, right? The circumstances when you took your neder were around the time of your neder. Something else happened from then on in. So it shouldn't be enough to monitor your neder. But Hashem said it is. So you see, no, it works. Hamisa the no, Hamisa the nolad who Ramisa the nolad who Misa is an example of nolad. Mikasha polskim nolad. Therefore, it's a proof that you can use nolad. Rabbana maitamai. What do they do with this pasuk? Savri Hanu mimaisi doesn't Aviram really die? How Rabbi Yochanan Mishum Mishum Ben Yochai Kamakush never nitzim and itzav meinan el doesn't Aviram. Anytime the Torah says nitzim, people were standing or standing erect, right, or fighting. Enel doesn't Aviram. And then we find later by Korach, right, that the people that he sent to Nitzavim, right? Moshe Rabbeinu told Korach to stop. He says Nitzavim. Parshas Korach was way after Yetzias Mitzrayim. You see, doesn't Aviram was still alive. They didn't really die. So what does it mean they died? The pasuk El Amar Shlakash Yardim Nichsei. It means they died in terms of they were wealthy people, they were influential people because of their wealth, and they became poor, and therefore they won't have the power to tattletale you to the government. Right? They're not close to the government anymore because they're poor people. Amar Rabbi Shua ben Levi called them She'ein Lo Banim. More on this sentiment. Anyone who doesn't have children, he's like a dead person. Rachel says to Yaakov, give me children, or else I'm dead. The Bride says 4 people are like a dead person. Ani, if you're poor. If you're poor, you're dead. Mitzora, someone who has leprosy. I guess it means someone who's ugly also. Really ugly, to the point people can't look at him. Suma, someone who's blind, someone who doesn't have children. Ani, it says, because all the people died. Mitzora, that's from Dasan Avira. Mitzora dechsiv al na'atihi kimes. Right, when Miriam and Aaron had saras, I think this is positive from there, that comparing someone's saras to a dead person. Mitzora dechsiv makashachim oshivani kimes olam is a pasuk in Eicha. You place me in dark, right? Like a dead person, right? If you're in dark, you can't see. You're like a dead person. Yaakov, give me children. If I don't have children, Rachel was barren at that point. She's considered dead. That's the conclusion of today's share. Stay tuned for Yom Ben Sion, where we discuss this concept of nolad, right? It's a weird concept, the concept of nolad. Doesn't seem to make any sense according to Lezer, right? Nolad, also the word nolad, we learned in the Gemara Daf It Nedarim Aleph, right? It's not really clear if it means nolden people already are in the world, are born already, or they're going to be born. We know from Perkei Avos it says, right, that you should Ezu Chacham Aroas Nolad. Nolad doesn't mean that it's not in the world at all. It means that it's starting to come into the world, and you realize it's about to come. So you have realization about this about to come. So to say nolad is a completely new circumstance doesn't make any sense. And the second problem over here is that the Gemara changes. The Gemara says they died, so that's nolad. So that's a privilege. The Chacham say back, they didn't die, they became poor. Becoming poor is also nolad, right? They were rich and then became poor. That at the time of the Neder, he thought they were rich, they were influential in the government. And then they became poor. That's a nolad. It's also, right? That's also something which is a new circumstance. What are you going to tell me? That death frequently happens? I'm sorry, people become poor frequently. So you say the same thing by death. People also die frequently. So what's the differentiation between death and becoming poor? Why is poor considered to be not nolad according to the Rabbanan? Talk about that in Ben Sion coming up next.